very much, Dan. Let's give Bell MTS a huge round of applause for their ongoing investments in our community. So it's great to be here today. How's everybody doing? Yeah? So I want to begin by acknowledging that we're on Treaty 1 land, in the traditional homeland of the Métis. Since I first made this acknowledgement at Council's inauguration back in 2014, it's grown to become almost universal. You'll hear the Governor General and our Lieutenant Governor offer it. All sorts of elected and appointed officials at every level. And it's being made at more events, including Jets, Bomber, and Goldeyes games. So why does it matter? When we acknowledge we're on Treaty 1 land, it's a small gesture towards reconciliation. It's a small gesture that we want to rebuild the partnership and regain some of the trust that's been lost over the years. It's a small indication that we want to resume the story of peace and partnership the treaties began to tell so many years ago. And it reminds us that we are all on this journey to reconciliation together. Elders, members of Parliament, the Legislative Assembly, and of course my City Hall Council colleagues. Could I ask my colleagues to please stand so that we can recognize each and every one of them for their efforts to help us lead this city. I'm going to be talking about some of our successes as a community, and this is a shared success with each and every one of my colleagues. Consul generals and senior officials representing consulates from around the world that are here today. Chamber President Lauren Remillard, Chamber Chair Johanna Herme, Chamber members, event sponsors, business community leaders and partners, and Winnipeggers. It's good to be here with you today. I know Tracy and I have been looking forward to this for some time. Also joining us here today are Anne and Scott Oak. In the midst of a national drug crisis involving opioids and crystal meth, the Oak family is fighting for changes in our community, honoring the loss of their son and brother, Bruce. Changes to end the stigma of addiction and increase health services in our city. And I want us to send a message to the Oak family today and every other individual fighting addictions. You're not alone. In the words of Blue Rodeo, there are 1,000 arms around you right here today. And in today's case, 1,200. I am very pleased to announce that partial proceeds from this year's State of the City event will be donated to the Bruce Oak Memorial Fund. So thank you for attending so we can make this contribution. Now, in keeping with tradition, I also want to thank Albert Altassi for making a contribution as well, which he has done so many times in the past. Thank you very much, Albert, for doing so again. It's great Winnipeg is hosting Mark's CFL Week. This is the CFL's biggest off-season event, which brings together the league's brightest stars and die-hard fans. And a quick welcome home to two Winnipeg boys in attendance here today, Keenan LaFrance and Nick Dembski. There they are. Good luck with that guy named Bowman this season. I hear he plays on the right side of the field, but keeps cutting left. Took you a minute, eh? It's hard to believe it's been almost 4 years that's passed. And the mandate I received in 2014 was humbling. I've learned a lot, and we've accomplished a lot. We're on the right track, and the momentum is building. Part of what put us on the right track was a change in thinking, a change in behavior. It's what we called during the election a new generation of leadership, and a demand to no longer accept the status quo. A status quo that embraced mistrust and negativity. A status quo that said, I just didn't understand how partisan politics work. The fact is, I do understand old school partisan politics. I just choose not to accept it. And for that, I don't make any apologies. Putting politics or special interests ahead of the priorities of Winnipeggers, it doesn't work for me, and it costs you. I came into the role as mayor without the formal support of any political party and without the obligation to abide by the old school rules of partisan politics. My experience stemmed from being a citizen looking for a different tone from government, and frankly, a little more common sense, just like many of you. During my first State of the City address, I pledged to focus on the priorities of Winnipeggers, not the priorities of any special interest group, and to govern across party lines. After 4 years, I can say with confidence that together we've changed the status quo, and that is how we will build Winnipeg for the future and build it for families. It's how we'll tear down the walls that physically divide, as well as those that keep us from understanding each other. Your faith as investors and community builders kick-started our momentum to get us moving in the right direction. And as a result, Winnipeg's strongest days are here. Growing, collaborative, informed, compassionate, and focused on building a city for families, for business, and for all. This is the new Winnipeg. We're being recognized nationally and internationally. And the days of feeling like you have to whisper about your pride in Winnipeg, they're over. Pride and confidence in our community has never been higher. We experienced it during the Canada Summer Games last summer, and we see it with the increasing number of people choosing to call Winnipeg their home. I came into this role focused on building a city for a population of 1 million people strong. Over the last 4 years, one word can summarize Winnipeg: growth. Our population continues to increase steadily and strongly. In 2013, Winnipeg's population was 690,000 people. Today, for the first time ever, our population is over 750,000 people and growing. Our GDP growing every year over the last 4 years. Private sector investment growing. Housing starts setting records last year, and like our population is projected to grow steadily and strongly into the future. Our city's diversity, it's only going to grow. Winnipeg's downtown, growing, the majority of which is private sector led. Tourism in Winnipeg, up. Visitors to the Forks, unprecedented and setting records. Pride and reputation in our city, growing. And decorum at council meetings, you can't win them all. For many of you in this room today, Winnipeg's growth has required some difficult discussions and required us to make some difficult decisions. I called on new homeowners, builders, business owners, and employees to do their part to better share the costs associated with a growing city. And you answered the call. It hasn't been easy, but each step built our community and our resolve stronger than before. And we've come too far to go back to where we were, and we're not going to let that happen again. We've got more to do, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. We need to continue building strong government, planning smarter for the future and growth, protecting Winnipeg's competitiveness, and growing an inclusive, more connected, and safe city for families. Local government has a job, and that's to work for you. But in the years leading up to 2014, many felt if City Hall wasn't working for itself, it was working for special interests. A strong government is one that is citizen-focused, accountable, accessible, innovative, and most importantly, collaborative. When I took office, I saw very little of that. City Hall was a mess. It was a complete and utter mess. Since taking office, I've worked with community groups, our administration, council, and my federal and provincial counterparts to build a stronger government. Change takes time, and it can be hard. And so we began making changes we could shift to immediately. We made all committee meetings more accessible via live stream. Executive Policy Committee, our speaker, our deputy speaker, voluntarily reduced their salaries, and together with a cut to my own salary, returned nearly $500,000 to taxpayers. We made information that never before saw the light of day, like our FIPA responses, proactively available online. New whistleblower protections have been introduced provincially that will, if passed, extend to Winnipeg's civic employees. Building on that momentum, we hired Winnipeg's first ever Integrity Commissioner, Sherry Walsh, to investigate complaints regarding the activities of elected officials. We established the city's first lobbyist registry. In 2014, I proposed a motion to end severance payments for politicians. Just yesterday, I brought forward a motion proposing to eliminate the city's campaign subsidy so taxpayers won't subsidize political campaigns to the tune of $700,000. And we've ended the ability of elected officials to expense alcohol. Taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for any of these. Winnipeggers are common sense and hardworking. City Hall needs to better reflect your values, and I believe that these changes do just that. Today, we're considered leaders in openness and accountability, but there's more to do. Currently, it's almost impossible to determine how your member of council or mayor votes at City Hall. So today, I'm pleased to announce another step towards even greater accountability. Later this year, a system will be introduced to electronically track how each member of council votes at community committees, standing committees, and council meetings, including your mayor. This is democratic accountability at its basic level, and I'm very proud to be supporting its introduction for the first time at Winnipeg City Hall. Building a strong government means being more open and transparent. We've created a new open data portal providing civic information in machine-readable format so that those who collect and scrutinize data like the media, Open Democracy Manitoba, or Red River College students have increased opportunities to share civic information with citizens in new ways. Last week, we launched the new Open Capital Projects Dashboard and the Open Budget Portal. These new tools make Winnipeg a civic leader in Canada for capital project reporting. Anyone can follow our active capital projects to know if they're on time and if they're on budget, and if not, why, and what's being done about it. Simply put, Winnipeggers cannot afford another police headquarters scandal ever again. A strong government also focuses on customer service. Building on the momentum of our innovative customer service solutions and accountability initiatives, I'm pleased to announce the city will be launching an enhanced online 311 service. It will be a complete overhaul of 311's existing online presence. Thank you. Commencing this summer under the joint leadership of the Director of Customer Service and Communications, Felicia Wilshire, and the city's new Chief Innovation Officer, who I know many of us know, Mr. Michael Legary, this work will also ensure full optimization for smartphones and for tablets. And these changes will provide faster, more sophisticated navigation and performance, and it will provide better information and better access to it. Building strong government also means watching spending levels. This year's balanced budget contains the lowest spending increase in Winnipeg's history, 1.2%. This compares to the province's 2.5% budgeted increase in spending this year. Last year, we successfully negotiated multi-year agreements with the city's 4 largest unions, all of which have been more sustainable for taxpayers and more in line with forecasted inflationary increases, while also respecting and valuing the important work provided by our employees. We know unions across Canada share information to strengthen their position at the bargaining table, and historically, collective agreements have reflected that level of organization. It's time cities showed up at the bargaining table, better organized and ready to better protect taxpayers. And so I'm pleased to announce that Winnipeg will lead the establishment of a new national committee enabling municipalities from across the country to share information to ensure more sustainable agreements. This committee will provide a forum for municipal administrators to exchange information and to bargain more strategically. Through this cross-jurisdictional collaboration, we'll demonstrate continued leadership in sustainable, fair agreements while continuing to build strong, positive relationships with our employees and unions. While continuing to build strong government, We need to plan today for a city projected to grow steadily and strongly into the future. Over the next 25 years, we are expected to grow by 8,200 people a year. And just let that sink in, 8,200 people every 12 months. Planning for this growth means understanding where we are today. A week ago, we released 2 reports on the status of Winnipeg's infrastructure. These reports represent the most comprehensive information on the city's infrastructure ever assembled in the history of Winnipeg. And they outline the condition of existing city assets, their replacement value, and the remaining service life of assets ranging from wading pools to hockey rinks to firefighting apparatus to community centers. Investment decisions are smarter when they're made on a business case and value for money basis, not partisan politics. For a city projected to grow steadily and strongly in the way Winnipeg is projected to grow, this information is critical for citywide planning and decision making. And it allows us to maximize value of existing city assets and invest smarter and more strategically for the future. These reports also demonstrate the effectiveness of focus and prioritization. Consider our city's road network. It's our city's largest asset. Through dedicated annual property tax increases, the priority this council placed on fixing our roads, including the transfer of 2% operating efficiencies to road renewal, culminating with the largest annual road investment in the history of our city, we've made a difference. The road deficit has been reduced to $1.9 billion from an estimated high of $3.3 billion back in 2009. And that's a significant deficit reduction on the city's largest asset. While the condition of our roads is improving and our residents are increasingly satisfied, fixing our roads remains a top priority for many Winnipeggers. And I want to assure you, it's going to continue to be my top priority as well. Finally, these reports demonstrate we've made progress in reducing our infrastructure deficit. The city's overall infrastructure deficit has been reduced by $3 billion, from $9.9 billion in 2009 to $6.9 billion today, while encouraging a $6.9 billion infrastructure deficit is, well, $6.9 billion. Addressing this deficit for a city that's the economic engine of the province is not something we can do alone. We need strong partners in our federal and provincial governments. Just look at the Waverley Underpass, currently on budget and on time to open in the fall of 2019, as an example of what can be achieved when governments work together. And while we've made significant progress reducing the infrastructure deficit for our roads, our arenas, community centers, and pools are trending towards poor and very poor condition. And this won't come as a surprise to many of you who use these facilities like Tracy and I do with our 2 boys every week. Our bridges, while currently safe, today represent 16% of the city's infrastructure deficit, which is a measurable increase from 2009. And while we continue to invest in bridge maintenance and safety, bridge replacements are inevitable. And when it comes to replacement, if funded entirely by the city without federal or provincial partners, it would quite simply cripple the city's finances. Moving forward to address the infrastructure deficit, we must maximize our access to federal infrastructure dollars, starting with our long-standing application for our Accelerated Regional Roads Program. We must continue to collaborate with the provincial government for a new, long-term, growth-oriented, predictable funding model. And we must continue to listen to industry partners on ways to improve efficiencies, as well as research ways to build better and to build smarter. And we need to depoliticize the process of rebuilding and investing in our city. Planning smarter for our future growth requires us to continue to improve the permit process. The city can't build itself, it needs builders. And we need to continue listening to them and looking for ways to improve permitting to support the building process. Over the last year, we partnered with the Winnipeg Chamber to launch a permit logistics desk as another way to listen and to make improvements. We also deployed new online tools for permit applications, including the ability to search permits online. This tool allows anyone to look up any property in Winnipeg to see if it has open permits. And this has never been available before. I think Peter Squires is here today from the Winnipeg Realtors. If he is, don't take my word for it, ask him. So a year ago, I stood before you and said the time had come for Winnipeg to embrace ride sharing. We got it done. A growing city like Winnipeg simply could not remain an island forever. Since Winnipeg's Vehicle for Hire bylaw came into force at the beginning of March, approximately 200 drivers have registered for ride-sharing insurance. So far, TapCar, which I took here today, and Cowboy Taxi are providing new transportation service options for Winnipeggers. Through public and stakeholder consultations on the bylaw, we leveraged an opportunity to have meaningful discussions with the taxi industry as well. Working together, through this process, the taxi industry implemented their own improvements to customer service and training. We allowed them access to diamond lanes, a long-standing industry request, and we just recently increased the number of taxi licenses for the first time since the Second World War. Better late than never. It's a collaborative win for Winnipeg. Taxis will continue to be important industry participants here in Winnipeg, and as industry competition increases, so too will service quality for all of us. A growing city like Winnipeg needs an efficient, well-functioning, and safe transit service. However, we can't ignore the fact that Winnipeg Transit is facing a new fiscal reality. Declining ridership, provincial funding reductions, a new carbon tax, and a new operating environment emerging with the introduction of ride-sharing requires transit take a critical and strategic review of its operations to ensure it's positioned for success. As part of the 2018 budget, Winnipeg Transit has been tasked with undertaking a long-term strategic review and plan. As part of any long-term plan, I am pleased to announce today that I will support electrification of transit buses. And I look forward to working with provincial and federal governments on ways to transition the largest transit fleet in our province to a much lower emission, environmentally friendly alternative. So the extent of a city's success can be measured by the vibrancy of its downtown. For decades, Winnipeg's downtown struggled to become the vibrant hub it had once been. Finally, Winnipeg's downtown has turned the page. New investments at the Forks have secured its rightful place as a must-see all-season hotspot in Canada. Centre Venture has led a new strategic priority plan to entice investors and create the vibrancy of our growing Shed District. New developments in our downtown is literally sky high. True North Square is well on its way to completion. This $500 million private sector investment represents unwavering faith in our city and our economy. We continue to leverage downtown investors through the Live Downtown grant for the Artis REIT's 40-story apartment tower at Portage and Main. Foundation work for the tower has commenced, and this summer we'll witness the first cranes to go up at Portage and Main in decades. The momentum continues with ongoing private investments at 201 Portage and the Richardson Building. Downtown hasn't looked this good in a generation. As our downtown grows up, Winnipeggers want to reconnect with the heart of their city. We had passionate discussions with all property owners and representatives of Portage and Main for the first time in 40 years to collaborate on a vision to reconnect all four corners of our city. By partnering to reimagine this corner, we've taken some of the biggest steps towards transforming our downtown in our lifetime. As the Richardson Building commences their improvements this spring, they'll be the first to remove barriers at the iconic intersection. This is the first step in a phased-in process that will better connect downtown from the Bell MTS Place to the Forks, to Shaw Park, to North Main, and through the Exchange District. Earlier this week, I joined CentreVenture in announcing the next stage of engagement on the future of one of the most prominent properties in our downtown, the land currently occupied by the old public safety building. It's not every day we get a chance to redefine an entire block of land right in the heart of our city. But we've got that chance right here and right now. And that's why I strongly supported and continue to support the recommendation to remove the public safety building and civic parkade. As our city grows steadily and strongly into the future, I want to build a more connected, more accessible city, and a downtown where people can live, work, and play, and enjoy many of the benefits residents in other parts of our city enjoy. Our downtown is alive right now. The momentum is strong. And with this once-in-a-city's-lifetime opportunity, that momentum is only growing stronger. To support Winnipeg's growth into the future, we must protect Winnipeg's long-term competitiveness. This means continually trying to find ways to support our local businesses. Over the last 4 years, we've reduced the business tax every single year and have increased the small business tax exemption threshold. We've taken small but important steps to reduce this tax. Today, I'm announcing my commitment to continue these steps to eventually eliminate the business tax. Mark Carney, you're not the only one able to provide forward guidance. We're the last Canadian city with a business tax, and the best support we can give to those fueling our economy in so many different ways is to be clear on the direction and commitment to ending it once and for all. Winnipeg's arts and cultural sector remains key to building a competitive, prosperous, and innovative economy. It has a direct, positive impact on local jobs and businesses. And we all know Winnipeg artists, musicians, and authors are amongst the best in the entire world. If these people don't thrive here, we end up borrowing our culture and we end up borrowing our vision of ourselves. And I care deeply about the importance of arts and culture in all of its forms. As Winnipeg continues to grow, my support for the arts and cultural industry will remain as strong as ever going forward. Keeping Winnipeg competitive also means ensuring the U.S. border remains open to trade. Winnipeg has always been a trading city, and open and free trade, it's critically important for our city and our province. Canada and the U.S. represent one of the closest trading relationships between two nations in the world, and we've worked together as friends, allies, and partners on many different levels. We've seen over the last year that mayors and local officials can have an important role to play in advocating for free trade, and I remain committed to doing just that. At the same time, we also need to look at what we can do to support local jobs and businesses within existing trade and procurement rules. The City of Winnipeg is an important local buyer. Of the 21,000 suppliers to the City of Winnipeg, almost half are located in Manitoba. In 2016, the City of Winnipeg made almost $600 million in local purchases. Local businesses competed and earned these contracts. But I think more can be done to support local businesses. So later this spring, I'll bring forward a motion tasking the public service to develop a new buy local procurement policy for city contracts valued at less than $100,000. And with Council's approval, we'll be better positioned to support local businesses. Winnipeg is a leading centre for technology in Canada. Our Transportation Management Centre has been a leading example in North America on how innovative thinking and technology can help build a city for the future. So what do I mean? By combining data provided by residents through the Waze app and 311, a pilot project this spring will use the Transportation Management Centre's set of strategically located video cameras to more quickly and accurately identify potholes and prioritize repairs. And in the coming months, working with the Police Board, Police Department, privacy professionals, and the Ombudsman's Office, we'll explore how we can possibly leverage the centre's traffic cameras to strengthen public safety. From potholes to public safety, there are ways to better deploy existing resources, use data, and improve service. This is innovation, and it's how we're going to grow smarter. As we grow, so too will our diversity and our need to ensure we're building a more inclusive and safer city for all families. Winnipeg welcomes and celebrates people from every race, religion, and creed. Diversity is our strength. It's our future. We're a city built on the values of families from every corner of the globe. However, we still experience racism and acts of hate in our community. Sadly, some minds and hearts remain closed. To be a city for all families, it's not enough to simply strive for inclusivity. It's something we must achieve. I'm pleased to announce we'll work with the Rick Hansen Foundation to support their efforts to standardize accessibility and inclusive design as part of today's nation-building efforts. Everyone deserves a chance to thrive and grow, and they need a community that celebrates all those who choose to call Winnipeg their home. More importantly, all Winnipeggers need to feel accepted and safe. As our city grows, the safety of our residents remains paramount. Historically, the cost of policing in Winnipeg has been steadily rising, well beyond inflationary levels. Our police and fire paramedic services combined represent almost 50% of the city's budget. These services are essential, but they're also expensive. And I'm sure everyone in this room understands how important it is that someone is there 24/7 to answer a call when help is needed most. Now, for some, you can't put a price on that. But for others, that doesn't mean backing up the Brinks truck and flinging open the doors. We need to ensure tax dollars are invested in our police service, are well invested, and deliver good value. And I want to be clear, the challenges facing our police department, they're many. Organized crime, cybercrime, and terrorism continues to add new challenges for our police. But we can't be deterred. We need to find ways to be more efficient in how resources are allocated. Our police service and those who serve as sworn officers are the only ones who can legally enforce our laws. But unfortunately, the reality today is that extensive and expensive police resources are being used for non-core policing activities. Approximately 1/2 to 2/3 of all calls for police are to deal with families in crisis and individuals struggling with the challenges of mental health, medical, and substance abuse. Handling these types of social issues requires us to think creatively and innovatively to reduce the demands on police so they can do only what they can do: enforce our laws, arrest gang members, and investigate crimes. The Winnipeg Police Board's strategic plan, under the new leadership of David Asper, has ambitious goals aimed at increasing efficient and effective core policing activities. We need to support them by working collaboratively with all levels of government to ensure the right resources respond at the right time and by the right agency. Now, like some of you, I've noticed an increase in aggressive panhandling at intersections over the last couple of years. Addressing aggressive panhandling, it's complex. But by collaborating as a community, we can find the right resources and the right agencies to provide the right support to help. In the coming months, I'll facilitate discussions with frontline agencies, including police, city planners, social and health professionals, to find ways to reduce aggressive panhandling in our city. And we need to have a thoughtful discussion, and by collaborating, I believe we can actually be effective. In spite of investments to revitalize our downtown, some still consider it more unsafe than other parts of our city. In 2016, the Winnipeg Police Service launched Centerline, a downtown safety strategy aimed at focusing its efforts to improve safety in our downtown area. We'll be supporting this work through a more strategic distribution of accommodation tax. I'm very pleased that by working collaboratively with the Manitoba Hotel Association, the Downtown Biz, and the Winnipeg Police Service, $3.5 million has been earmarked in our 2018 budget to enhance outreach service, expand foot patrol, and lighting. And we will consider crime prevention through environmental design and other security initiatives to make our downtown even safer. Now, like any big city, Winnipeg's not immune to the presence of illegal drugs on our streets. One of the most significant challenges our police and our community are facing today is not only the presence of opioids, but also meth. Meth is a powerful stimulant, highly addictive, and can present extremely unsafe situations for our residents as well as our police. Unfortunately, it's becoming increasingly present in our city. According to police, seizures of meth in January of this year alone reached a level equal to half of last year's entire seizures, representing a street value of over $500,000. Its presence is stretching the limits of support groups struggling to keep up with service demand. Now, luckily, when faced with what seems like an impossible challenge, our community knows how to respond. In the early 2000s, when arson and auto theft plagued our city, we came together to knock both back. We know how to get it done by working together. And so I'm pleased to announce the Winnipeg Police Service will be establishing a formal illicit drug strategy. This strategy, to be formally launched by the police service later this spring, will rely on smart policing principles to target the challenging issue of meth and other illegal drugs by focusing on increased enforcement, intervention, and education. And by focusing on these three pillars, police and partner agencies will be better positioned to educate people before they use illegal drugs, intervene with those currently using, and enforce the laws on those perpetuating the problem, making our community and our streets safer in the process. Okay, so with that very brief introduction, I'd now like to begin my formal remarks. The message today is simple. This is the new Winnipeg. We're growing, we're building, we're investing. We're positioned for future growth. Our table is set. It's ready to welcome anyone looking for opportunity. And when we rise, and I'm confident we will rise together. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve as your mayor. Thank you very much for the chance to serve. Let's keep it going. Thanks very much, everybody. Merci and miigwech.